cold. Cold in Mexico.
We are leaving Bahia Domingo. It's 6:45 in the morning. We're trying to go 50 miles today before the sun goes down at 6. We have 11 hours. Oh, that's like 5 knot average. We're not gonna make it, but we're gonna try. If not, we're gonna bail into, if we can't make it to Juanico, we're gonna bail into a place called Punta Polito, which is 35 miles from here. Maybe 40 with some tacks and some jibes. Should be a pretty good sail. There's supposed to be 15 to 20 knots of wind out here, so we should be moving pretty good. Once we get around the corner, it'll be downwind. Oh, and there's dolphins on our bow right now.
I'm sorry?
Which is nice. Yeah, I just seen them go down. And we are officially engineless. We've raised the dinghy. We've raised the motor off the dinghy. We have no more backup. It's, you know, I did not want to tow it 40 miles downwind. We've towed it downwind before, and it just doesn't like it. It surges, it surfs, it scares me, and I'm afraid we're gonna lose it. So the next couple anchorages are pretty easy to sail into, and our confidence level is going up. Good or bad, we'll see. Hopefully we're not too overconfident. But anyways, we're gonna just enjoy this sail. There should be a 4-foot swell out here at one point today, which doesn't sound bad, except it's only gonna be 3 or 4 seconds apart, so it's always not the most comfortable.
Before we continue our journey south, we called up Salvador. We had met him in Mulege earlier in the year when our engine died. He'd helped us translate at the auto parts store, and we remembered that he provided tours of the area. He showed up in his white van and took us on an enjoyable and educational trip towards the petroglyphs. We stopped at a family-owned citrus orchard where we sampled several different varieties of oranges, tangerines, and grapefruits. Further down the road, we stopped and examined several different plant species, where Salvador explained the names and medicinal uses of each plant. It is here where we learned that he also gives these tours to the college students studying the sciences. Did you know that the fishhook barrel cactus, also known the compass barrel, always faces southwest? While Salvador gave us more information, we stood underneath a tall cactus that was over 500 years old. When we entered the ranch grounds, we enjoyed the shade while the dogs and the chickens came to say hi. We paid a small fee to access the trail through the ranch property and to carry cameras. The hike was an easy one along a dirt path through the ranch towards the river. Salvador showed us old rock walls bordering special places and a simplified version of what to look for when around ancient grounds. When entering the riverbed, it was shaded by the tall red rock cliffs, definitely reminding us of home. The water gently trickled down the canyon. Hiking along the river about 20 minutes, we came to the first panel of petroglyphs. A beautiful and large area of different petroglyphs. We enjoyed Salvador's history lesson and found some similarities to the petroglyphs back home. But seeing the differences were interesting. We hadn't seen dolphin or stingray or starfish before, but of course, they would be a big part of life then as they are now. After resting in the shade while Salvador finished his lesson of the people who left these markings, he asked us if we wanted to return to the ranch or continue to the next panel. We opted to continue to the next panel. As we walked up the river, it didn't get more difficult, but we did have a challenge to keep our feet dry, which Salvador had warned us about. We tried, but in time, each of us ended up laughing as we slipped off a rock into the water. I think Salvador was the only one left with dry feet by the time we reached the panel. Again, we found ourselves standing where others stood so long ago. The hike back down the river and back to the ranch was just as enjoyable, and we returned back to Hiraya and prepared to head south.
Cruising along, 5.5, 6 knots. I don't know, 20 knots wind, 15, 20, I'm not really sure. We don't have proper wind instruments at the masthead. Anyways, the wind's never the problem here in the Sea of Cortez. The problem is the wave state becomes very uncomfortable. You get 4, 5, 6 foot high waves, but they're only 3 to 4 seconds apart. Here comes one. So we're going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, up again. 2, 3. And it makes it for a very uncomfortable ride. Out in the Pacific, it was actually more comfortable, even though the waves were higher and the winds were higher. But the distance between the wave crests were like 8, 9 seconds instead of 4. Anyways, we got 26 more miles to go. I think we're gonna make our destination, especially at this speed. We're gonna get there right before dark.
Just holding on for dear life.
Really? Dear life?
I'm just kidding. No. I am thinking we probably have to get our safety equipment out though. You should always wear your life jacket. Don't be lazy sailors like us.
That's true. If it picks up anymore, we'll put them on. I did run lazy jack lines yesterday before we set sail. We can clip in, so if we have to go up to the foredeck or anything to make a sail change or do something weird up there, we'll definitely clip in. Right now we're just not leaving the cockpit, and all our lines are ran to the cockpit, so we can do most of what we have to do here inside the boat. So
Makes it safer.
it does make it safer, I believe. Anyways, we're gonna enjoy the rest of our sail.
It's a little bit colder and a little bit more hazy than the last time we were in this area. Last time we were here is when our motor just decided to up and quit. We floated around for an hour trying to figure out what to do. Right now we're heading out about 5, 6 knots and heading into the other side of the cove, which is Juanico. So it'll be nice to see a new spot. Pretty excited about that. But yeah, here we are, back where it all began. Motor issues.
We're almost there. Another 3 miles to go, meaning we would have covered 50.6 miles in 10 hours. That's 5 knots. That's pretty good for us.
Yeah.
That's actually really good for us. Anyways, we're gonna get ready to anchor. We're gonna put another reef in our main and unfurl our head sail before we make this corner, because we will be going upwind into this anchorage, which we always seem to go upwind to the anchorages, but that makes them good anchorages because there's no fetch if the wind's coming from the, you know, blowing out of the anchorage. So it makes for a nice quiet night. We made it to Juanico. We had a pretty good sail coming down. The winds were 20 knots apparent at one point, which isn't terribly high. We did sail downwind pretty much the whole time, and it finally happened to us. Everyone told us we'd do it one day, and we just did. We had an accidental jibe, which was interesting. We we're doing just fine surfing down these waves, doing surfing at 7-8 knots, which is pretty fast for our boat. Before, the boat would surf down the wave and it would turn upwind a little bit, so it wasn't a big deal. The boat was in control, things were fine. But this one set of waves came in, kicked us the other way, and the wind caught the backside of our mainsail, and that thing came crashing over. I watched it happen, didn't have time to do anything about it. But the noise and the force of the mainsail when it flopped over to the other side was just crazy. The whole rig shook, the boat shook. We're like, what the hell, you know? And we didn't think much of it. We got back on the tack we wanted and kept going. And when we got into our anchorage here, we went to put another reef in, and we noticed that 3 of our sail slides had broken. And the only thing we can think of is came from that accidental jibe. So now we got to try to fix them. So we found another cruiser out here that had 2 slides. We had 1, so we have all 3, and we're gonna go figure out how to put them back on. This is the one I have. This is what the others look like. Normal little sail slide. These are the ones, I found 2 of these, borrowed 2 of these from a guy. They are a little bit different. They do fit in our track, in our mast just fine, go up and down just fine. So that's what we got, that's what we're gonna do. I do have one of these thingies, a Sailmaker's Palm, I believe it's called. Never used one. I found some waxed line, some waxed polyester, and my big old needle. Snapped it right out of the track. But it looks like they're just kind of whipped on with some string or some line, some thread. Doesn't look too hard to do, so we're gonna cut this thing off and put the new one on, just like that. Struggling. Why does it always look easier on paper than in reality? It doesn't help the boat's kind of walking, bouncing around a little bit. We'll get it eventually. Can't get it through the hole. Go find some pliers. Can't get it through the hole. Gonna have to go find another tool. Seriously. There we go. There it is. I may need to find some longer webbing. My skills aren't that good. And I also think this slug's a little bit fatter in diameter. But there's no way. We're gonna try this one instead for our first attempt, see if it's easier. There we go. All right, don't move. That's really close to my face. Up here. As you can probably tell, I don't know what I'm doing when I'm sewing. I just tied a big old knot for a stopper knot, so this doesn't pull through. I'll probably tie a few knots as I go, but here we go. It's always something. So hold on, that's really hard. Put it on this guy. my new jewelry, my new bling, made in England. It's actually uncomfortable. It needs some oil. It's a little stiff. All right. First stitch is the most critical. There we go. There we go. There, progress. We got her licked now. Just came out of my needle.
While he continues to sew, I'm gonna go find something else to do. It's gonna be a while.
That was it. I've got some whippings on it, and I really don't know how to finish it off real well, so I'm just gonna tie a bunch of knots so this thing doesn't come unthreaded.
While Sam finishes up the other two slugs, I'm in here just doing my normal thing, like cleaning up. It's been a minute since we've like deep cleaned, so I'm gonna do that. Also, when we're out sailing, we get into a different mode when we're switching from anchorage to anchorage to anchorage every couple days. Things get not necessarily put back where they go, but more in a functional area for that moment. So I got a lot of rearranging to do. I'm also kind of thinking about where everything's at, because we're going to be in Puerto Escondido in like, probably less than 2 weeks. And that's going to be our deep clean and getting some stuff out of here and making room for things that we'll need for a larger crossing. So I'm kind of organizing my brain right to make sure that we can find good places for stuff and really go through the things that we're not using at all. It's been a year, and there is... I always forget to turn that off. Anyway, I'm gonna go finish cleaning and rearranging, and Sam will holler at me when he's ready to show you the final project.
Third one ended up pretty good. I definitely improved. All that's left now is to get the old slides out and put the new ones in.
Need a screwdriver? It's looking good. I think we can make it. What do you think?
I don't think we've done any more damage than those 3 slides. I think the rest of the sail I think's just fine. But accidentally jibing is something we will never want to experience again. It wasn't that bad because the winds weren't high, but it could have gone really bad. It was crazy, the little bit of wind we had when it came across, how much the rig, the whole boat shuddered, you know, and heeled over. Yeah, wasn't awesome. But everything's good. We probably won't sail that deep again downwind for a while. Not in those seas anyways. The wind wasn't the problem, it was the waves pushing the boat around. We couldn't keep up with it, so lesson learned. That's what we're out here to do. Learn, live, have a good time. So